Hello, good evening. That was not how we expected to start. Apologies for that. Yeah, good old YouTube, for whatever reason. Anyway, we are sorted. Hello, good evening. My name is Simon Edgoose. I'm here for this event with the wonderful people at Drummers Only, and for you, lovely people. And we are going to talk about electronics. Now, one thing that has become very, very obvious in the last couple of hours is that I gave out an email address. So you can send in questions, and that email address is drumideas@gmail.com. Okay, and if you want to ask any questions during that time, just email that email to that address, drumideas@gmail.com, and I will get them on my phone, and then I can reply to you in real time. The reason we're doing that is if we do it on YouTube or if we do it on through Zoom, I will only see the last one because all the questions keep getting added on and loads of questions get lost. So if I have them on my phone, I can actually just go through them one by one and then delete them when I've answered them. So, but the thing about asking for questions in advance is that every single one of those questions has been about EAD, Yamaha's EAD 10, which I've got set up here. So I was going to set up a DTX M12, a multi-pad, and various other stuff like that. But as every single question has come back about EAD, I thought we just might as well just do EAD because we got plenty of stuff to get on with. So I hope that is all right. If you want to turn your cameras on, I can see you over there. If that's all right, give me a thumbs up. That's all cool. But yes, so drumideas@gmail.com. Okay, right. So, Jason, your camera just turned on. I'm assuming that everyone can hear okay. Yes, fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, brilliant. Okay, right. So what we're going to talk about is this is EAD. Okay, and I have got absolutely shed loads of questions which have been sent in advance, and I'll try and get through all of those. But if you've got any more, just email them, like I've said. So, what is EAD? Okay, well, EAD stands for Electronic Acoustic Drums, okay? And it's a way of capturing the sound of your acoustic drum kit and allowing you to do stuff with it. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have already got one of these, but a lot of you will also want to sort of know how it works and everything else like that. And yes, I've just realized how hot I look. That is because I got a really, really bright lights here as well. So yes, and the fun of trying to get YouTube to work. So EAD 10. EAD consists of two different parts, okay, and I've got hopefully some nice shots to actually show you. So that is the module, and the module takes the sound from the sensor. The sensor is this, okay, and the sensor clips on the bass drum, as you can see it in that shot there, and it plugs into the module, which you have somewhere. I've got it down to my left, like in the picture, and the sensor has got two microphones in it, okay, and what it does is it just picks up the sound of your kit. Okay, so it picks up the sound of your kit through the two microphones. It picks up the drums, it picks up the cymbals, it picks up everything. If you play shaker, it will pick up the shaker as well. And then it allows you to change the sound. It allows you to add reverb, so room sound onto the drum kit sound, or you can do lots of other things as well. You can affect it. You can put lots of effects on. You can treat your drum kit as though it's in the studio without going into a studio. And you can also use this for live, okay? So normally when we mic a drum kit, we have, if you can see these up here, you probably can't actually, just out of shot. We normally have microphones over the top and on each drum. And they capture the sound of the kit, and then it goes into a nice big mixing desk, and then we mix the sound that we want. We can EQ it, so we can change the tone, we can change the treble or the bass of each drum sound, and we can make it sound really, really nice. The only thing is, to do that really well takes a lot of time, okay? It takes a real lot of time. And you need to know an awful lot about how it all works, just so you can get it to sound good. I'm sure many of you are like me. I bought my first set of microphones ages ago, and I thought that I would just put them on my kit and I would instantly sound $1 million. And I put them on the kit and I put them into a mixing desk. I put my headphones on, I started playing the kit, and I was so disappointed because I just sounded like me playing my kit, but louder. And I didn't realize at the time quite how much effort goes into making our drum sound the way it does. But what EAD does is it gives you a very quick way of capturing the sound of your kit and letting you do things with it. So you can gig with this, you can record with it, you can make videos with it. We'll talk about that later. You can do so much with it, and it's just an absolute lifesaver. And it means you haven't got to learn how to work mixing desks and everything else like that. It's a very quick and easy way to get a really, really good drum sound. Okay, so now that is one way of using EAD, but what I've got set up here is actually something different. And I've got this set up like this because of lockdown and everything else. Lots of people have been using this at home, and to use it at home, most people need to play quietly. So this kit here that you've got here, and let's have a nice, here we go. This is the kit I've got. It's a Yamaha Stage Custom Bop kit, and these are mesh heads on it. These are not real drum heads, these are mesh heads, so it's nice and quiet. So I'm going to leave my vocal mic on, and I'm just going to turn down the EAD, and I'm going to play, and you'll hear what the kit sounds like at the moment, just with mesh heads on. Okay, so I've got the snares on. Now the only thing I've got which is loud are the cymbals, because I've got real cymbals. I haven't got low volume cymbals. You can use this with low volume cymbals. I've got conventional cymbals for a reason, which I'll talk about later. So if I play a normal groove, okay, that's fine for home practice, but we want more than that, don't we? We're drummers, we want to do more. So what I've got now is I've got the mesh heads on here, the silent mesh heads, and I've got these triggers. Now you might be able to let's try this. That's not working. Let's have a look. Let's try that. No. There we go. Okay. Right. Not that screen. You don't want that screen. So I've got on my snare drum, if I just pick it up, there we go. I've got a trigger here, and it's a Yamaha DT50S, and all that's doing is it's just picking up the vibration of me hitting the head, and it's turning it into a signal which the EAD module can understand and can do something with. Okay, so now there's a lot of sort of misunderstanding about how electronic drums work. Actually, I'm just going to scroll through this just to see if I can just, no I can't, right, okay. Let's have a look, see if we can use this camera here. Can you see that? Yes, you can, just about. Okay, so this is a very close-up camera. This little disc here is something called a piezo. And what that is the sensor which goes inside an electronic pad. And when it is hit, or flexed or vibrated or anything else like that, it sends a signal down the cable and down the lead to your drum module, your EAD, or anything else like that, and it generates the sound. So if I hit this now, just going to turn my mic off. So what you'll you're hearing is a Yamaha Stage Custom bop kit with mesh heads on and the triggers, and all the drum sounds are coming out of the EAD. So you can do this at home. You can have a mostly silent kit and triggers, and the EAD can do all your drum sounds. So it's like having something, it's like having a drum module, but this does an awful lot more because you can also use this on your acoustic drum kit. Now, the sensor on the bass drum, so the sensor on the bass drum, that is, like I said, it's picking up the sound of the whole kit. So it's picking up the cymbals, picking up the sound of the mesh heads, which aren't very loud, so it doesn't really pick up much of those. And that's what it's doing. It's just picking up the sound and it's mixing it with the sound of the cymbals, sound of the drums, and that is what you're hearing. So you're hearing a nice full drum sound in your headphones. You're hearing the same as me, but much easier to do. Much easier to do. It feels like a kit, it looks like a kit, and it's really, really cool. So, okay, right. Now, if you are a gigging drummer, you can use this for home practice. You can use this for gigging, like I said. You can use this for any sort of thing where you normally use your drum kit. And let me just show you a couple of things that you can do with this. Right, so this is the mesh head setup. This is a version 2. Yamaha have brought out some more software a few months back called the version 2. And the version 2 allows you to use mesh heads and triggers and everything else. So you can use it on your silent kit. You also, when you do that, you could download a load of free kits. And so I'll just sort of show you some of these. So this is a compressed maple kit. Something really nice and simple that you could use for anything you wanted to. But if you want to go for something a little bit bigger, or let's go for stairwell. So this is sort of a John Bonham thing. Okay, or maybe I want to do electronics. It could be anything. So it can be any sound you want, and you can put your own sounds into this as well. So if you're using this with your normal kit or with your silent mesh head kit, you can put in your own sounds, and they could be anything you want. So we could do something like this. So I've just put in a loop, and I've got a pad over to my right. Now, the EAD module, I can have a 5-piece kit if I want to, with triggers on. You don't have to use triggers. This is the most important thing. It's basically a miking system, okay? And you don't have to use triggers, but it's got trigger inputs so that you can put triggers on if you're using mesh, or you can plug pads in. So you could have your acoustic drum kit, and you could have a few pads off to the side, and you could trigger lots of different stuff off the pads. So it's not just this. You can expand it in any way you want to do, whatever suits your playing, your gigs, your sound, and anything else like that. So I've got a pad over to the right here. It's actually a 3-zone pad. So I've got 3 different zones. I've got 2 rims, and I've got the head, and I can have different sounds on different parts, and I can get it to work in different ways. So, or I could have, wrong one. I could have, let's go for this. Here we go. I could have a trap hi-hat. If you want to have that running as you're doing your gigs, if you want to have that in a particular song, you could just stick that sound onto a pad and you could hit the pad and you could have it running. It's easy. It's incredibly easy to do. And you can load sounds in just by simply putting them onto a USB drive, putting it in the back and pulling them in. And then every single kit that you have, and they're called scenes inside the EAD, and you've got 200 of those. So as long as you play less than 200 tunes in one evening, you're okay. And you can have a different drum sound using the microphones or using the effects for every single tune you play, if you want to do that, if you're using it for gigging. What most drummers do is they will just have maybe two sounds. They'll have one normal sound and maybe they're doing a Phil Collins thing or something like that, and they want a gated drum sound as well. So you could have a gated drum sound as well for a particular song. It really depends on what you need to do. So you can make one drum kit sound a million different ways. It really is completely up to you. So now, because I got sent loads of questions beforehand, I'm going to sort of put them in just because hopefully, as they've come from you, they will answering them will help, and it'll make you help you understand exactly the sort of thing that I've got here. So the first question, I haven't got a name for this, I'm afraid, is how does the EAD10 benefit your normal, regular covers drummer who isn't into loops or samples and just knows they've heard of EAD, but what can it do? So at its most basic, if this was a normal drum kit, so if it didn't have mesh heads on, you could just set up at a gig, at a pub, whatever you want, in a function. You could put the sensor onto the bass drum. You could have the module over to the left. You could connect them with the two cables. You could turn them on, and it would take you 30 seconds to mic your kit. Okay. Now, this isn't a replacement for a full miking thing with mics on each drum and overheads and everything else. It's different. But it's for ease of use. It is the easiest way to mic your drum kit in one go. Okay, it's really quick and easy. And then you can just give the sound guy left and right cables and say that is my drum sound, and you can just mic your kit incredibly easily. So for most working drummers, that's what we're going to use it for. We're going to go and do a gig, and we're going to use the EAD for miking the kit. Great, very simple. So that is at its most simple. But then what you can do is you can use it for lots of other things. Now, I take an EAD with me to every single gig that I do, just because I don't know what I'm going to find at every gig. Sometimes all the drums are mic'd, but the monitoring, I can't hear myself, because it's just a wall of sound. So what I can do is, on a gig where I can't hear myself, I just put the sensor onto the bass drum, turn the module on, plug it all up, and stick my headphones on, and I can suddenly hear my drums really well, really nicely. In fact, when I'm using this to monitor myself, to hear myself, I play about half the volume, and that is because I can hear myself so well. I can hear all the ghost notes, absolutely everything. It just works great. Okay, so you can use this to hear yourself. You can use this to mic your kit. You can use this for teaching. So if you're a teacher, you can have the EAD on a kit, and you can record the kit incredibly easily. Let me show you how quickly I can do that. So let's just find a drum kit. Let's go for that maple kit again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, if you imagine that this is a lesson, and you're getting your student, or you are the student, and you're practicing a new fill. You're going, I don't know, you're going. Something like that. What you can do with EAD is, if I press the recorder button, and then I press the recorder button again, it starts recording, and it's now recording everything that's going into the mics here. Just turn my mic off again. I didn't check that that was in properly. Let's just try that again. There we go. There we go, that's a bit better. Okay, so how long did that take? I hit stop, I hit save, I hit play. You can hear me talking. Now, how easy was that? I mean, normally, if you want to mic a drum kit, it just takes ages, and to get a decent sound, it's absolutely impossible with just very, very quickly. But I can do that with EAD really, really, really quickly, like 30 seconds to mic the kit. And all the sound is just going through here. Now, like I said before, normally we mic a kit from the outside, but this is micing the kit from the inside. So it actually is picking up less of the room sound. So it picks up more of the real drum sound. And it gives you a very, very real sound. But if I want to change the sound, if I want to, I don't know, let's have a look. Let's go for that big John Bonham sound. Oh no, let's go for this one. Okay, I hit the recorder button again. I hit record, turn my mic off. Hit stop, hit save, and now I can play that back. You get the idea. You get the idea. So it's incredibly, incredibly easy to start taking the sound of your drum kit and doing stuff. So we've talked about the EAD. We talked about sensors, just mesh heads, silent mesh heads. You don't, like I said, you don't need the triggers. If you're using this just to mic the kit, you don't need triggers. There is actually a trigger built into the bass drum, so you can have a sound underneath your bass drum sound to give it a little bit more welly through the PA. But you don't need to use triggers. Then you can just plug in pads and you can have whatever you want. So it really depends on what you need. There's a load of sounds built into this, hundreds and hundreds of sounds built in. So, you know, on this pad here, I could have, well, at the moment I've got 3 toms set up. Or another different tom, but I could also have different stuff on the rim, like I said. Now, maybe you're the sort of band who you want to run loops live. Well, what you can do with this is, if you have a pad off to the side, you could play, and every time I hit the pad, it'll play for, I think it's 1 bar, it might be 2 bars. Let's just see. Okay, so it's 2 bars. So I've got a 2-bar loop on this pad. Okay, now this, normally to do this you need loads of gear. You need absolutely shed loads of gear. But with EAD, I've just got a pad, plugged it in, put the loop sound on there. It's one of my loops. I just put it on the USB pen drive. I pulled it in. I told this pad that I wanted it to be that drum sound, and I've done it. So as long as I hit this pad every 2 bars, I'll have a loop running all the time. Which is fine, but sometimes we don't want to just be hitting a pad every 2 bars. So what I can do on the EAD very, very simply is, if I want one sound to continue like a loop, I can press 1 button. It's called voice hold mode. Not exactly a sexy name, but you know, it's there. And now when I hit that pad, that loop will play until I hit it again to tell it to stop. So it's as simple as this. except it helps if you actually put it to the right pad, doesn't it? Let's just try that again. Voice, enter, hold mode, on. There we go. There we go. Let me turn my mic off. Okay, you get the idea, hopefully. So that could be anything. Could be a it depends what your band plays. If you play metal folk, I mean, that could be a harp sample or something like that. It really depends on what you want to do. Basically, what this can do is exactly what you need it to. If you want to trigger a metal or a harp through a distortion pedal or something like that, off that, you can do it. You just load the sounds into the EAD, put them on the pen drive, put them in, and then you can just do it. Very, very simple. Right, let's get through some more questions. Right, best tension for mesh head. Seeing as we've got a mesh head kit here, I'm using the Remo Silent Strokes, and the thing about mesh heads is you need to have them tighter than you think. What happens is, because I can't really do it with my fingers, but because mesh heads are woven, when you actually have them quite loose, all the filaments, the strands of nylon, they move and they actually make it really, really bouncy. The tighter you have it, the less bouncy it is. It's the opposite of a normal drum head, okay? So you need to have your mesh heads quite tight. The tighter, the better. Right. Now, another question which keeps cropping up, and it's cropped up in one of the things I got sent earlier, is how do you, when you're using this live, how do you hear everything else? How do you hear? I mean, I've got these Masquerade cans on here, these Masquerade headphones here, but normally I'd have my in-ear monitors, and I wouldn't look so much like a Cyberman or anything like that. But when you're using this live, if you can screen grab, and this is useful to you, please do a screen grab now, because I'm just going to show you something. Right, that is how I would recommend you use it live. Okay, so the EAD is on the left. It's got the left and right going out to the front of house, the PA. Then the headphone output comes into a little mini mixer. Now, the stuff in the grey box at the bottom, for those of you who've got an EAD, you might not know about this, but it's really, really useful. There's something called external device audio volume. And when that's turned on, the master outputs are a fixed volume, and the headphone volume is adjusted by the volume knob only. So the volume knob only adjusts the headphone output. And when you turn that down low enough so it doesn't distort any mixer you plug it into, you can set it up like it's got in the picture. Then you can have a feed from the monitors, so you can hear the guitars if you want to hear the guitars. And if you can't hear stuff on stage, then you might see the two microphones on stands in the middle at the top. You can just plug in a microphone just to pick up the ambience of the stage, just to pick up the sort of the sound of what's happening around you, and that really, really helps. So it makes it feel like you're not wearing in-ears monitors or anything else like that. So screen grab that if you can, because that's really, really useful. Okay, and that is how I would suggest you set it up. Now, next question is from Jake, one person who I did get their name of. Thank you, Jake, for the question. Right, he'd like to create a hybrid kit. I have a 5-piece kit. Can I trigger all of the drums and use the mic at the same time? Yes, you can, is the simple answer. But as you say in your second question, is it really necessary or realistic to use triggers on all of your kit? It depends what you're doing. Do you need a triggered sound? What I think is probably most useful, depending on what you're doing, if you're doing cover stuff, no, you don't really need to use triggers, because the effects inside the EAD are so good, you can make your kit sound like anything you want. Big, distorted drum sounds or gated drum sounds or anything else like that. So what you could do is you could have your EAD, and then you could use the trigger inputs for pads like I've got down here, and then you could have, instead of having a sample pad, you could just have a couple of pads. Because I'm using Yamaha 3-zone pads, this has got 3 different zones on it that I can hit to get 3 different sounds. So if I had 2 of these, that would be the same as having most of sort of a multi-pad type thing. And I can load my own samples, or I can use the sounds which are built into this. So there's loads of stuff that you can do. So if you want to trigger it, if you need to have a triggered sound, then by all means go for it. But I don't think you do. I would just say have a few pads put around the kit. So that would probably be the most useful thing. So thank you for the question, Jake. Right. Then someone's just said, right, can you suggest, if possible, any websites to download specific drum sounds? Right. There is a website called Splice, and Splice is run by the companies who make all the sample CDs that you can buy. And rather than having to buy, you used to have to buy a CD. Who buys CDs nowadays? And that had a load of samples on. But what they've done is you can go to Splice and you can just buy a snare drum sound, a bass drum sound, something like that. I think you have to pay £7 a month or something like that. For that, you get 100 samples. So you could join for 1 month and just download a load of drum sounds. And then you just put them on your USB pen drive and put them in the back, and then you can just load them in and play them off your kit or pads or whatever else you want. Can I download loops to use, and if so, how? Like I just said, you just put it onto the USB pen drive, you put it onto a pad, and then you do that thing where you can just get it to continuously play until you hit the pad again. So yes, you can put loops on your pads. You could have 3 different loops: a verse, a chorus, and a bridge on one pad if you wanted to. Right. Okay, practical questions. A load of practical questions came from who I'm guessing these came from people who've actually got EADs. Is there any hardware box I could buy for transporting the EAD? Well, actually, yes, a Peli case, which is the sort of the military grade, really heavy duty plastic cases. They are fantastic for EAD, but good old Protection Racket have got a case specifically for EAD sensor, a load of triggers and a load of cables, and that is coming out hopefully very soon. It was due to come out a couple of months ago, but obviously we've been slightly distracted by other things in the meantime. Protection Racket have got something coming out. Now, I mentioned earlier that there are 200 scenes, and a scene is your metronome, your click. You've got one of those built in like this. Okay, that's a bit loud. Let's turn that down. And I've got that so I can hear it and you can hear it. You can set it so just the drummer can hear it, just you can hear it, which is great because it means you can play along to a click and the audience don't hear a thing. But you've got these 200 scenes, which are all your effects, all your sounds, all your samples, everything else. And you can put them into an order. Inside the EAD, you can literally just drag and drop them into the right order. So you can adjust your set list inside here. And so to get to the next one, you can either press the button on the front, or if you've got a pad plugged in, you could switch the pad to act as a switch. So you hit the pad and it changes the scene for you, the patch for you. Or you can plug in a foot switch into the back, and every time you hit the foot switch, it's best if you have it down here by your left foot, then you can change the patch. So you don't have to put down any drumsticks at all. So you can have every single song in your set list can have a different drum sound if you require it. Now I'm just going to check for questions. Loads more questions. Harry, I will get back to your question in a second. Stacey. Right. Okay, Stacey. Hopefully, I've covered your Stacey Plant. Hopefully, I've covered your question already. Yes, as a miking solution for weddings, function gigs, absolutely. I've used it on those myself. I've lost count of the amount of times. Works great. 75% of the time I'm unmiked. Yeah. Right. So if you are generally unmiked, but you just want a little bit of reinforcement, then if you just stick the sensor on the bass drum, have the EAD module. If you don't need the mics, what you can do is you can actually just unplug cable B and just have cable A running, and cable A is just the trigger. So you could actually just have a sample playing whenever you play the bass drum, just to give it a little bit more weight, a little bit more bottom end. Yeah, so Stacey, absolutely, EAD is perfect for that sort of gig. In fact, that's almost what it was built for. It wasn't built for that. It was actually built for home playing, but we drummers, we've taken it out and we've done lots of things with it, and we've realized it's perfect for that. Right, hang on. Okay, Harry, I'm going to come back to your question in a minute. Okay, so yeah, so you could have your 200 scenes, you could just have a foot switch, and you could just go through to the next one. So very, very simple for gigging. Now, because we started half an hour late, I'm going to try and squash everything in. I'm not going to try and do the full hour. I will if you want. If you want to stay that long, then great. I can see how many of you there are over there. So we'll try and squash in as much as we can. Now, one thing that you can do with this, which is really, really cool, is you can connect the EAD to your computer. And if you record at home, if you use GarageBand or Logic or Ableton or Pro Tools or Cubase or Fruity Loops or anything like that, you can actually record your drums directly into that just using EAD. You just connect the EAD to your computer with a USB cable. In the program that you're using, let's say it's Logic, you find the EAD as an audio interface, and then you start playing. And it's really, really simple. You can just place your drums straight into your program. It records it as a stereo file, left and the right, and it mixes the kit as you hear it. So that's really good, but you don't need a computer. So let me just show you something. If my pen drive will let me do it, let's just come to Maple Compressed again. Right, what I'm going to do, so on my pen drive, I've got a track with no drums on it. And the track is something like this. Let's find it first. I've got a load of stuff on there. Here we go. This. Okay, so it's just a track, no drums. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit play, I'm going to hit record on the front screen, and I'm going to record the drums over that track in real time, as long as my pen drive lets me. So let's just try that. I'm going to turn my mic off. I'm going to hit play and record and start playing. Now, normally to record drums, you need a lot of gear, you need a computer, you need blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to hit stop. I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to hit play. And this is what I've just recorded. How easy is that? It's ridiculous. All you need is EAD and a pen drive, and you can record drums over especially in lockdown, bands swapping tracks around and just going, right, there's bass on here, but there's no drums. Can you put some drums on it? You can just literally slot it into the back of EAD and record drums over the top. Obviously, that one, the track was a little bit quiet. So what I'll do, if I was going to re-record it, I'd turn up the audio click knob, which is the backing track volume, and play it again. Simple. It's really, 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 really simple. It's just such a godsend for drummers in EAD. You can use this in so many ways. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to check and see what. In fact, actually, Harry, I'll just come to your question now. Actually, because of the whole lockdown thing, we've had drummers and teachers doing Skype lessons, Zoom lessons, everything else like that. You can use EAD for Skype, Zoom lessons, online lessons, whatever platform you want to use. You can use Zoom like we're using now. You can do it really, really simply. Again, all you do is connect the EAD to your computer with a USB cable. You inside, let's say it's Zoom or FaceTime or Skype, you find the EAD as an audio input, so you find it as the microphone, and you also find it as the headphones. And then you just plug your headphones into the front of the EAD, and your teacher or your student, depending on what you are, can hear your drum kit at the other end. It's perfect. It's brilliant. Exactly as you're hearing it now. You're hearing it through Zoom. But what we can do now with the version 2 software, which came out a few months ago, is we can actually talk to the person at the other end, the student or the teacher, through the pickup on the bass drum, the sensor on the bass drum. And I'm going to show you this by, I'm going to turn off my mic, and then I'm going to press the microphone button on the front of the EAD twice, and you're going to hear my voice through here. Okay, so mic off now. Now you can hear me through here. So if you're having a lesson, you can, this is completely off, you can actually just talk to the other person and you can hear them through your headphones. So for Zoom, Skype, anything else like that, any other platform you want, you can use this for online lessons really, really easily. It's very, very cool. Hopefully that has answered your question, Harry. Thanks for the question. Now I'm going to turn this mic off and I'm going to go back to this mic. There we go. So you're now hearing me through this, but it just goes to show you can use this for online lessons incredibly simply. Right, so what we're going to do now, hang on, Harry, does this work with the backing track plugged in as well? That's the only slight thing, is it will either work with the backing track or it will work into a computer. It won't do both at the same time, so you have to decide which way you want to, which one is more important. So what I tend to do is when I'm teaching is I'll either use an external mixer like I showed you on this one, and obviously without the microphones, and then I'll just plug in the track that I want to play into the little mixer, and I'll run it that way, and it works fine. And then I can hear the music, the other person can hear the music as well. So hopefully that answered that, Harry. Thank you for those. Right. Chris, shall I look at your question now? Oh, okay. Unrelated to EAD. Unrelated to EAD. This is from Chris from the store. What difference do different modules make to the performance of a VST? Right. So, what VST is a plug-in instrument. If I'll try and make this 2 minutes. So sorry, we're going to get technical for a second. Drift off for 2 minutes. I'll come back to planet Earth. A VST is something which runs in your computer, and it is a massive library of drum sounds. You connect your electronic kit to it, and you don't use the sounds of your electronic kit, you use the sounds out of your plug-in, your VST instrument inside your computer. And to be honest, you probably hear a VST, if you listen to Radio 1 or Radio 2, you probably hear a VST a good few times an hour without realizing it, probably thinking it's a real drum kit. They are that good. And using a different drum module or EAD, you can connect your EAD to a plugin as well. It does give a different response, or react in a different way. But to be honest, the VSTs now, especially I know the one which you're talking about, Chris, and the one we've talked about in the past, there is so much control that you can make it perform however you want. But it's like anything, you need to sit down. It's heavy duty software. You need to sit down and learn how to use it. Right, end of that. Chris, I'll talk to you separately about that another time. Okay, Right, so now I'm just going to talk about Rec and Share. Now, Rec and Share is an app which comes with, it doesn't come with it, you can just download it for free from the App Store if you are on Apple, or Google Play if you are on Android. And it links up to your EAD, so I've got it on here. Let's have a look. Which camera shall I use? Why is that camera not? No, I don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. I want to go back to that. Okay, fine. Right, so it's a very simple. Can't really see it. There we go, just about. It's a very simple app, but it's very, very clever. And what I can do is I can open up any song that I own. It's got to be something you own. You can't use it with any streaming sites. You can't use it with Apple Music or anything like that. You have to own a physical copy for legal reasons. And so I've got a track, and then if I hit play, right, so this is a track which I've got on my phone. Okay, so, but what I can do is if I press a button at the top and go back to the top, the app will generate a click. So now, you're going to hear the click. So I could play along with it, but what the best thing is, if I get it playing, I can slow it down and speed it up, and the click just stays with it. So that could be any track, and it will just generate the click track. It doesn't work with all tracks. There's some tracks it has problems with, some shuffles and stuff like that. But generally, if it's in 4/4 and it's a pop tune, then it will work absolutely fine. And then you can, so that's just using it for teaching or for playing back or for practicing a particular fill. You can just slow the music down, play the fill, and then gradually work the tempo back up. But you can also, if I hit the start recording button in the middle, I can also use this to make a video. So I'm just going to turn my mic off. Okay, this is how easy it is to make a drum video now. Let's see if we can stretch this a little bit. I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to hold it up, and I'm going to show you what I just filmed. If we can get close enough. Again, how easy is that? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I can use this to film videos. I can use this to film drum lessons. So I can film a student practicing something, or I can film a whole lesson, and I can send it to them. I can email it to them before they've even left the building. It's brilliant. It's so good. There's just so much you can do with EAD. It is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly powerful. Right. Thank you for staying with us. Sorry about the problems at the start. I know we started half an hour late, but yeah, very annoying when things like that happen. But what can you do about it? Absolutely nothing. So thank you so much to Drummers Only for hosting this, and thank you for all of you who sent in questions. I will keep that email address open for another 24 hours. So if you've got any questions after watching this that you think about and you think, oh, actually, How do you do that? So it's drumideas@gmail.com, okay, and that will come through to me. I'll keep it open for another 24 hours, and I'll get back to you. I will get back to you eventually. So thank you so much. So that's the EAD. I knew we weren't going to have time to do anything else. Brilliant, fantastic. Thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you in the flesh at the stores really soon, when this horrible period has passed and we can actually get back to normality. So thank you. Carry on playing as you are. Thank you for watching, and see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.